Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So this is Obama. I'm going to call this Obama God of Oil. God of Oil. Now, I'm calling this God of Oil because people are freaking out about Donald Trump going into these, he's essentially allowing drilling in some mountain regions, and he is going to disrupt many of the habitats in those environments. Donald Trump does not care about murdering babies abroad. He's not going to care about the environment or anything else. He's not going to live all that long, so what does he care? He's not going to be here. I hate the fact that Donald Trump is going into those areas, and all things being equal, I always make this humanistic argument, and in that humanistic argument, a person is inextricably linked to the environment. There is no situation where you're going somewhere you're existing in a void. You are going to be somewhere at every point in time for the rest of your life. And in some way, that environment is going to enact or act on you. Pretending as if the environment doesn't exist and pretending as if it's not a real thing, it's to our own detriment. I have a story coming up after this. It's to our own detriment. So, no, I don't necessarily like Trump going in those areas. All things being equal, I think we need somewhat of a green revolution. Understanding that the world and environment are real things. I know we're not going to get that. Fair enough, because other people don't care about those things. And usually people need to have their own needs met before they start looking outside of themselves and, what else could I beautify? Fair enough. Fair enough. Just kind of want to make a point. I continually stress that the issue is not one party or the other party. It's both. Both of these parties are fundamentally the same. They use certain talking points and certain things that they wrap themselves in, but those things are purely vehicles to get them to where they need to go. And power. The arguments they make are usually there to kind of hook people in and pull those people into a particular point of view. Now, those people may be true believers. You have a second group of people who get attracted to that particular message, and they latch on to the party itself as opposed to being grounded in some kind of value system. Either case, this is how these guys are formed. This is how these parties are formed. But when they get power and when they get in office, do they do what they say they're going to do? Do they represent what they said they're going to represent? When they're out of power, if you're in favor of one of the other groups, oftentimes you don't see the bad stuff that the group was doing, meaning the things that you're arguing and complaining about for this other group, this other wing of the exact same party, of the duopoly. Your group is doing it too. This is the aggravating part of this. To hear people bitch and moan and complain about Trump. And what they bitch and moan and complain about Trump, the other guy was also doing it. How are you enraged with one but perfectly okay with the other? I don't understand this position. At all. If you care about the environment, you care about the environment. What does it have to do with who's in charge and who's actually making the offense? If Obama is opening up pipelines, if Obama is out there fracking, it's somehow better that Obama is fracking than Trump trying to do something similar or the same thing. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It shouldn't matter who's in power or who's, holding the apparatus when that thing is taking place. This is how Obama became the oil president. This is Mother Jones. This was in 2014. I'm just trying to make a point. I'm going back in time because what's going on with Trump now with this particular thing. I kind of want people to get into the frame of mind of both of these parties are fundamentally the same. They agree on reality. They just have moderations on the way that they agree on reality. Republicans are more rapacious. Democrats are less so. Just because they're less so, it makes you think that they're somehow fundamentally different or better, as if these are the only two spectrums of thought that are presented to you or available to you. I'm trying to make this point of there are other spectrums of thought. These are not workable point of views of the world if you have this kind of, if you care about the environment or you care about other human beings or you believe that human beings are more important than markets. Let's look at the story. I say God of Oil because I think God of Oil sounds badass. But how Obama became the oil president. He once talked of plans to reduce oil consumption. Now the United States drill more than ever. What happened? What happened indeed? Obama's turnaround on oil. That was then and this is now. And Obama ain't talking that way no more. Instead, he regularly boasts of America's soaring oil output and points to all that he's done and is doing to further the increase in domestic production. Thanks to the sort of heightened investment in domestic output his administration has sponsored, he told a cheering Congress in January, more oil was produced at home than we now buy from the rest of the world. The first time that's happened in nearly 20 years. Although still offering his usual bow to the dangers of climate change, Obama did not hesitate to promise to facilitate further gains in domestic output. In accord with his wishes, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management announced on July 18th that it would reopen a large portion of waters off eastern seaboard, an area stretching all the way from Florida to Delaware, to new oil and gas exploration. Under the BOEM plan, energy companies will be allowed to employ advanced seismic technology to locate promising reserves beneath the seabed in preparation for an offshore licensing schedule for 2018. At that point, the companies can bid for and acquire actual drilling leases. Let's go down for a bit. They have a fact sheet. I'm going to add this because this article is rather long. There's just certain parts. An increase. This is the fact sheet that the White House was giving out. An increase in sale for oil and gas drilling on federal lands. In 2013, the Bureau of Land Management held 30 such sales, the most in a decade, offering 5.7 million acres for lease by industry. An increase in speed with which permits were being issued for actual drilling on federal lands. What's called processing time has, the White House boasts, been cut from 228 days to 194 days in 2013. The opening of an additional 59 million acres for oil and gas drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, the site of a disastrous BP oil spill in 2010. In other words, global warming be damned. Here's the thing. Do you remember Standing Rock? The big thing with Standing Rock, where you had these Native Americans. Obama is pardoning a turkey on Thanksgiving while Native Americans, real, actual indigenous people for this particular country, were getting their heads bashed in by cops because they wanted to put in an oil pipeline. God of oil. God of oil. You can't have it both ways. You can't scream about climate change as a Democrat or as a lefty and continue to support the Democratic Party and bitch and moan about the Republican Party. You can't have it both ways. If God of oil here is willing to put all of these pipelines, is willing to open up all of these reserves for fracking, all of this water for fracking, how are you bitching at Trump? I don't understand the leg you have to stand on. Be outraged. Yes, be outraged at both. That's my point. It's not one or the other. It's both. It's not one or the other. It's both. Both of these people do that. This article is here. And understand, this is not... There's another point to this that I kind of want to make. That I wish I could drill into public consciousness. This is common heritage. Everyone here on this soil, in this country, this land was given to these corporations to rent and to use and to rape of resources and all this other stuff. But all of the negative consequences of the things that they do are externalized to the rest of the population. Meaning, they get to take the spoils of stuff that belongs to all of us. But at the same token, we get all the negative consequences. They externalize putting this stuff into the air, putting this stuff into the water, messing up the ground itself with regards to earthquakes. They are doing things on land that's supposed to be ours. And they're reaping all the benefits, and we are reaping all the negative consequences. If this is indeed common heritage, if there was nobody here to give this land away, if all of us as Americans, this is, if we want to say we have this, we ourselves, the government gets its power from us, it doesn't necessarily, shouldn't have the power anyway to give away our lands in the way that it gives away our lands. If they're going to use the land for oil, then part of that money should go back maybe into a trust, or it should go back as universal basic income for each and every person in this country. If you're born here, you get a UBI. You can thank the world or thank the land that gave it to you. Their exploration, there should be something that goes to the public itself. Literally, that goes to the public itself in a tangible way. I don't understand how you... West Virginia is an awesome example to me. I don't understand how they can rape that country or that state of the energy reserves of that particular state, and that state being the 48th poorest. That is amazing. That is amazing. If you were born in West Virginia, you should have gotten a stipend. You should have gotten a stipend. The stuff, the coal, the stuff that they were pulling out those mountains or those mines or wherever they get the coal from. to some degree, also belongs to you. West Virginia should not have sold you down the river in the way that it sold you down the river. In this point, I'm talking about the government of West Virginia selling the people down the river. No, you've been sold a bill of goods. Everyone in the country has been sold a bill of goods. There should not be a situation where they can rape the land in this way and you get nothing from it. That's all I mean. That's all I mean. I want to show one more thing. The predictions for global warming have been just levied up. Meaning you had these predictions where people had, okay, this is the mild side of the prediction, this is the more aggressive side of the prediction. They've taken satellite images from over the past 20 years. Let me just read the story. Ah, jeez. Let me just read the story. This is MIT Technology Review. Global warming worst case projections look increasingly likely. A new study based on satellite observations finds that temperatures could rise nearly 5% by the end of this century. Global warming's worst case predictions look increasingly likely, according to a new study that was tested the predictive power of climate change models against observations of how the atmosphere is actually behaving. The paper published on Wednesday in Nature found that global temperatures could rise nearly 5 degrees Celsius by the end of this century under the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's steepest predictions for greenhouse gas concentrations. That's 15% higher than previous estimates. The odds that temperatures will increase more than 4 degrees by 2100 in the so-called business as usual scenario increased from 62% to 93% according to the new analysis. Essentially, however worse you thought it was, it's worse. It's worse. This is stuff that we're doing to ourselves. If you consider yourself a Democrat, and the last guy who you supported, Mr. God of Oil, was willing to open up all these pipelines, willing to put in these fracking places, and fracking is worse than regular oil production. How do you care about climate change? How can you say, I care about climate change? There's an asteroid that's about to hit the planet, and I care about that asteroid that's about to hit the planet, and I, as God of Oil, am going to do something about it. The Democratic Party turns around and puts Hillary Clinton up, who is also Mrs. God of Oil. I mean, I don't know what you're going to call her. But she also was selling fracking around the world in this way. How can you say I'm a Democrat? How can you say we're the party that believes in science? How can you say we're the people who believe in climate change? And you don't do anything about it. And not just not do anything about it, make it worse. Business as usual. It doesn't matter what they say, it matters what they do. If Democrats want to come out and say, oh, we care about the climate, we care about the poor, we care about the 99%, we care about all of these things, and yet you get in office and you don't actually do things for those things, or you do them in this piecemeal, half-ass way, this incremental way, then you don't really believe it. Same thing with Republicans. We care about the debt, we care about the debt. Oh, here's $9 trillion more on top of the debt as soon as we take power. Yeah, okay. Both of these parties are fundamentally corrupt. Both of these parties are just saying what they need to say to get your votes. The problem is both. The problem is not one or the other. The problem is both. Stop playing this game of I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. Both are fucking you over. Both are fucking you over, and they're doing it for financial means. I'm going to end it at this. I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm going to put both of these articles in the bottom. What Trump is going to do in regards to environmental regulations is going to be gross and nasty. You have 4 years of it. You have 4 years of it. Suck it up. Suck it up. I didn't like it when Obama was doing it. I damn sure don't like it that Trump is doing it. But I at least have the honesty of saying both were fucking doing it. That's all. Leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks guys.